right, my friends, let's try this again. This is the second time I'm giving this class because I forgot to record it. I made the whole class. It was beautiful, I think. And I forgot to record the class. So it happens. And it just happened, in fact. So here we go. Never too late. Very good. All right. What did we learn yesterday? We learned yesterday that all the curses that are written in this week's Torah portion are really blessings. And in fact, everything that happens in the world is really a blessing. And I mean, I know what happens in the world a little bit, The world is terrible. The world is awful. The world is filled with pain and difficulties. And it even says in the Tanya, the book of Tanya, that this world is rubu kakula ra, that's almost totally bad. Just a little bit of good is in it. So I know how bad the world is, and especially here, I mean, I know how bad the world is. The world is much worse than we can possibly imagine. But nevertheless, the world is being created by God, and God is good, and God doesn't make mistakes. So everything that's happening is really good. But the problem is how we look at it. If we just see the small picture, so that makes it very, very difficult for us to be positive. If we see the big picture, namely that God is creating it, and especially see that God is creating it for reasons that we can't comprehend, and that we're being created for reasons we can't comprehend, as then we see the good in everything. And that's the whole idea of the Kabbalah, ideally. Not the Kabbalah that they learn in these, Kabbalah, free Kabbalah classes or centers or whatever it is. We're talking about the purpose of Kabbalah is to appreciate God more, and especially to appreciate God's commandments, and especially to appreciate the power, the effect that God's commandments have to make a new world and to improve the world. That's the whole idea of Mashiach. Mashiach is going to bring all the Jews back to doing the Torah and to doing the commandments. And this, what we're learning, this is the wisdom of Mashiach. The first Rebbe of Chabad and all the Rebbes after him, they were the Mashiach of their generation. The teachings that they teach, that's the teachings of Mashiach. So here we have a good example. Everything in the world, says the Rebbe, is good, but the problem is that everything in the world has revealed and concealed. The concealed part of it, the godly part, that's good. So the Rebbe said, let's take an example, bread. A person eats bread. Bread is a physical thing. It's vegetable, made from plants. But when a person eats bread, is inside of the bread, there's a life force that enlivens the person, that the person can think, the person can feel, and the person is happy. Why a piece of bread? It says because the bread is just covering over the godliness, this special spark which is inside of the bread. Well, that's the way it is with the whole world, especially with the Torah. The Torah is called God's bread. And the bread, just like bread enlivens the body, so the Torah enlivens the Jewish people. Now, the Jewish people, they're the chosen people. God chose the Jews to bring blessing and meaning into the whole world, to show every human being that they're being created in the image of God, that God loves them, that God is creating them, He's enlivening them. Everyone is important. No one is replaceable. Every person is a miracle. But that's only on the inside. That's the inside. That's the secret behind it. On the outside, there's just a bunch of people. Right? They get in each other's ways. There's people that say there's too many people in the world. That's a very sick way of looking at the world. Very external, superficial, negative way of looking at the world. That's like death. The same thing with all the religions. What are the religions? They look at the world. They say the world is terrible. It's awful. The main thing is to go to heaven. Oh, that's really real world. Well, that's also death. That's not really true. So the whole point of the Torah is to enliven the Jewish people, and the Jewish people then can enliven, put life into the world. The world becomes alive. It becomes real. It becomes interesting, mysterious, holy, challenging. happy. But the problem with bread is that the Torah is like bread, it says, and the Torah therefore enlivens the Jews when they take it inside, when they ingest it and digest it. The problem is that bread has to be baked, and the same thing with the Torah. And that's what it says. V'afu eser nashim, the 10 women, or the curse. Here's the curse. The God will break the staff of life of bread, and 10 women will have to bake their bread in one oven, and then they'll return. The result of the bread will be they'll have to weigh it out. That such a small amount of the bread will be edible that they'll weigh the remains of these crumbs, whatever the bread, and they'll divide it into 10 for the women. So says the Rebbe, this is a big blessing. What's the blessing? First of all, the staff. That God will, the staff of bread, this is called the staff, that's the tree of life. And God broke it when he broke the tablets. That brought evil and superficiality into the world. But we can reinstate this staff of life. By what? In the bread, lechem is the Torah, but we have to bake it. And who bakes it? 10 women. They bake it in the oven, one oven. What does this mean? Let's have a look and see. What does it mean that the Torah becomes baked? The Torah is called lechem, is called bread. Chita, wheat. Shehu kaf beis osios, that wheat. This is the 22 letters of the Torah, the Hebrew alphabet. That's the number, the gematria of chita. Chita, it means wheat. You count it up 8 and 9 and 5, that's 22. So the Torah is bread. Now we have to bake it. It's like this. If you just eat dough, which is not baked, then it cannot be digested in your intestines at all. And consequently, it is not absorbed in your limbs to become blood in your soul. It's indigestible. But so if a person eats after the bread is baked, the dough is baked, it is digested in your digestive system, and it becomes absorbed in your limbs, in your blood, in your heart, your brain. It becomes blood in your soul, and the bread becomes you. There's not two separate things. Because the main thing of the bread is the life force in the bread. Cain also is also the soul, the food for the soul, which is the Torah. If the Torah is not baked properly, it's by a person, like we're going to explain. Even if a person learns Torah a lot, it's not united with him. But it is, it's a thing on itself. The Torah is by itself, and the person is by himself. He doesn't receive any life from the Torah at all. Just like bread, physical bread, like it's not baked yet. Right? Any book, you read a book, you put the book down and that's it. You finished. You learn mathematics, right? Mathematics, you learn. So the mathematics is one thing and the person is another thing. Mathematics does not come from your creator. Mathematics is a part of the creation. It's an interesting part of the creation. The same thing with physics, the same thing with philosophy. All these things are ideas. They're separate from you. But the Torah comes from your creator. And even more, it's the reason why you're being created. The Torah. And even more, it gives life and inspiration and courage and happiness and joy and meaning and determination. And all these things come from the Torah. But if it's not baked properly, then it doesn't become unified with you. It's just the Torah is one subject, and you're another subject. Like there's places, universities I know in Israel for sure. They have classes in Talmud, even in Kabbalah, and the people that teach the classes they don't really believe in God. They're not observant. They don't keep the Torah. The whole Torah is dead to them. But it's an interesting subject. Interesting subject. Of like the ancient Chinese literature, right? The guy's a genius in ancient Chinese literature, ancient Chinese, right? But if the Torah is baked by a person, then it will be absorbed in all of his 248 limbs, and then it becomes one. The Torah becomes one and nourishes the person. And that's what the rabbis say on the Pasuk Arucha B'Kol V'Shemura. It says that the Torah is arucha. It is, what do you say, arranged. If the Torah is arranged, if it's absorbed in all of your 248 limbs, then the Torah will be kept. You realize the Torah is your life, and it's not just a separate thing that you can throw it away. We see that's what happened with the Jews. They got the Torah. They had these big miracles, amazing things, but they didn't internalize it when they got out of Egypt. So they worship the golden calf. Like we explained, according to Bishavso, or it's like we explained before. Remember last week we explained that we said it's like the Torah's like bread. We explained it last week also. That you have to plant and you have to grind, remember? Now let's understand, what does it mean? How do we bake this bread? Again, this is for the Jewish people. This is for the Jewish people. Only we can see in a minute. Only the Jewish people are supposed to learn the Torah. A non-Jew is not supposed to learn the Torah. He can learn the Torah as an interesting book. He can learn the Torah to teach him what to do, because there are 7 Noahide commandments, and a lot of the commandments of the Torah are relevant to non-Jews, especially laws of money and laws of kindness to people and etc. Those laws he can learn. But other than that, the commandment of learning Torah, that the Torah becomes absorbed and becomes life for him, this is only by the Jews. The Torah was given to the Jews. Torah tzivu lanu Moshe. So, but the Jews just learning the Torah, it's not enough. The Jews have to have the way they learn it. It has to be baked. What does it mean? It means the Torah was given black fire on white fire. Secret says when Moses went up on the Mount Sinai, so it says that the Torah was given black fire on white fire. Now, why fire? I mean, black ink, huh? Maybe black ink on white fire. What does it mean, black fire? How is there a black? If it's black, it's not fire. How is there fire? There is on a wick. If you look on a wick, there's blue fire, right? But it's not black fire. What? Maybe the smoke can be black. What is black fire? Says the Rebbe, black fire, that's the source of fire. It says in here, it says the Ramaz, this is a Kabbalah book, it says that the black fire, this is what's called God's level of Chachma Stimoah, God's hidden wisdom, you want to call it. Chachma's life force. God's hidden life force, this is what's called black fire. And revealed life force, God's revealed wisdom, this is white fire. Therefore, this whole idea of the black fire, this is what it says by God, that he makes darkness his hiding place. Just like what we don't understand, that's dark, right? You go into a class of whatever it is, by mistake. A person goes into a class of, high physics or something like that, a beginning freshman, and he goes into high physics by mistake. He doesn't understand anything. It's all black to him. It's all dark. Things that are above us that we don't understand, that's called black. So this is the fire. This is the source of fire. This black spiritual fire, that's where the Torah comes from. Okay, what's the point of talking about this? We'll see. This black fire, where is this found, this black fire? This black fire is found in the heart of every Jew. In a tremendous love and a desire to cling to God. Now, this is what makes the Jews the Jews. What really is the definition of a Jew is someone that has this inner hidden fire inside himself. It's hidden. What did that mean? It's hidden. So how can we define it? So the answer is that's not a good definition. That's the fact. That's the truth. But we can't detect this. How do you detect? If your mother was Jewish if you convert it according to Jews, if it's according to the Torah. If according to the Torah laws, externally you're a Jew, then that's a sign that internally you're a Jew. But what is the internal? What's the really true essence of what the Jew is, right? What's the true essence of what a Jew is? Is this fire, this love, this inner black love, which is black fire, I'm sorry, which is dark, it's concealed, just like the black fire of the Torah, the letters of the Torah, it's concealed. This is the source of the Torah. The source of the Torah and the source of the Jews is the same thing. This is a hidden love and desire, a hidden life force. That's what Chachma is life for. She'avshu Torah, every Jew, even if the Jew is busy in his business, like a shaman physical things, because libu bor tamid, every Jew's heart is flaming constantly to God. Like it says, tzak liba mel Hashem. Their hearts are screaming out to God. Ki alev tzoek, the heart screams out. Of every Jew, your heart is screaming out. You hear it screaming out. You feel you're a Jew. What's the Rebbe talking about all here? Says the Rebbe, your heart is screaming out, but it's concealed. L'davka bo, to cling to the source of life. V'nikra cholas ahava, this is called sick with life, with love. Love sick. Kamosha katuv, samcheni ba'ashishus, like King Solomon says. Samcheni, bring me back with whatever it is, spices or something. Ki cholat ahava ani, because I am love sick for you, God. Let's see where this goes here. Oh, uba'avazu, and with this concealed love, which is in the heart of every Jew, which we said that this is black fire, ubo'eret, and it burns. Every single Jew has this burning, flaming fire inside of him, her, that they just, all they want is just to be close to God and do what God wants. And they don't even know what this is. It's so deep. Asher, Rishafel, Rishfeish, that's what King Solomon is writing about in his Song of Songs. That it's flames of fire shall have his Yudke. That's what the Mashiach is going to wake up in every Jew. The Rebbe is the Mashiach. The Rebbes of Chabad are Mashiach. We're reading the words of Mashiach. He's trying to wake up the Jews to who they really are. And this is a flaming fire inside of every Jew. Shemitlaev bo'er, it flames up and it is burning up constantly. L'davka bo, to cling to God. B'zeh yochel adam, in this fire that's inside of our hearts, this fire, this longing for the source of all being, this connection which is unique to every Jew. That's what it means. The Jews are the sons of God. Banim l'Hashem. With this fire, a person can bake the bread, namely the Torah. When the person cooks the Torah, kishalevas ahava, love, with a flame of love to God, b'zeh yivlu'u, then will be absorbed the words of Torah in his me'av, in his intestines, and then becomes one with him. That's what it means. That's what it means. They will cook their bread, the Torah. But Tanor Echad says the women, they will cook their bread in one oven. What is this one oven? In the heat, the flame on love, which comes from contemplating that God is one. One oven, the oven of oneness, the heat of oneness, that God is one. He's the Yechudah Shel Olam, that the whole world is being created by him. He's the only real reality. And when we think of this, that's what the angels said. Even the angels are flaming up to God. The angels they're also just as far from God as we are, but they realize it. On the other hand, God is infinitely close to us, infinitely close. He's closer to us than we are to ourselves. He's creating us. I don't create myself. The Inyan, so why does it say that it's 10 women that cook the bread in one? 10 women. What type of a blessing is that? The Rebbe said all these curses are really blessings, right? So we just explained that the staff, that's broken staff, that's the staff of life, the tree of life. And we can take the Torah when we break it in this love that we have, as we reinstate, we re-enliven the Torah, that's this bread, and we absorb it. But who bakes the bread in this heat of oneness of God? 10 women. Who are these 10 women? Who should be nefesh? This means in the soul that every single Jew has 10 levels. And these levels are called 3 mothers and 7 doubles. And look in the Tanya, the beginning of the Tanya, the 3rd chapter of the Tanya, it explains that the 10 powers of the soul, this is what is explained in the book Sefer Yetzirah. Book Sefer Yetzirah, that you can use this book to create people. You want to create people? Use this. I could maybe, if I knew how to do it, I would maybe create more listeners to this, but I can't do it. There's some people that could. It says that Rabbah and the Gemara could, the Rebbe, what was his? The Ramal, the Maharal of Prague, he was able to do it. Create people. Like, people couldn't speak, but he could create people. So it says, this is the book Sefer Yetzirah, and it says, what is the power? What are the forces of creation? The units of creation are the Hebrew alphabet. And the Hebrew alphabet has 22 letters. 3 of them are called mothers, 7 of them are called doubles. Look in the Tanya, explains a little bit. In the Sefer Yetzirah says the 3 mothers, that's the letters Aleph, Mem, Shin. Sheva Kafulas, that's Begad, Kafrat, Beit, Gimel, etc. And then there's 12 simples, it says. That corresponds to the 12 months of the year and the 12 hours of the day and the 12 tribes. In any case, what's this number 10? These 10 aspects of the soul, that's how you cook the bread. Why are they called 10 women? Why are they called 10 women? It says because the whole essence of loving God means you have to be a receiver, like Mother Earth, women, feminine. The feminine aspect is the receiving aspect. That's the feminine aspect. That's why God is always referred to as masculine, because he's always giving. You know, we learned that with Rabbi Shimon. God is always giving. He gives us life. He creates the world all the time, gives. Sometimes he stops giving. People die, etc. But but we're the receivers. It says, and the only way you can really discover this love which is inside of you is by realizing that you are a receiver. It's something that God is giving you. You're receiving it. You're not inventing it. That a person knows, Ein Tov Shelo, that anything good that he has is not mine. This love of God and understanding of the Torah and my good character, this is all gifts from God. Even this desire to cling to God, it's not from me. It's not my service. Rag Bala Emet Notenet Emet. The creator of truth, he's the one that gives truth. That's what it means. 10 women, all of the powers of your soul, they're like women, they're receivers. These are good things that we see from God. That's what it means that the Torah should be, and that's what it means that you always, in the Tanya, it starts off, that you always should be in your eyes like you are evil. What does it mean that you are evil? It says, even if the whole world tells you that you're a tzaddik, and in fact, you think you are a tzaddik. I mean, you're learning Torah all the time, you're doing good deeds, you never think bad thoughts, you never say bad words, you never do bad deeds. You're doing good. Why should you look at yourself like you're bad? You're evil. Why? It says, because very simply, everything that you have that's good, that you do, that's a gift from God. In fact, you yourself are a gift from God. If a person learns Torah constantly and he's always praying, he's always doing good deeds, but nevertheless he has to be in his eyes like he is bad. Why? Because the good things that you have, they belong to you. Where does the bad come? Any bad things that you do or that you even potentially can do, that comes from you yourself. She'oseh shelo, ki hu be'atzmo, he came from himself. I gave the example before, like Columbus, he discovered America, right? Did he invent America? No, if you would say invent America, it means that America is not really real. It's something that he invented. It's not really real. He just invented it. Like an invention, you got to make it, right? You can invent your own country. Columbus said, good news, I just discovered the country of Gnumbia. Where's Gnumbia? My backyard. It's like it's bigger than Russia, the North Pole. It has rain. It made the whole thing up. Things that you make up yourself, that's false. Things that you discover, that's really real. Einstein and these other people, right? They discovered principles. Beautiful composers. They just discovered the harmony and notes and things like that. They discovered these interrelationships. They discovered it. They didn't invent it. Who are the ones that invented Music, the people that make terrible music that doesn't sound like music at all, and they call that music. This I invented. This we're now going to call music. Right? I remember there was this John Cage. These people had. Anyway, nothing personal. His relatives are listening. Good things all come from God. Everything comes from God. Everything. Well, listen. Bad things that you do, that you make that up. That you can call yourself. Kishalahevas is because this flame of love, this comes from Yud-K, from the first two letters of God. It's a gift. When a person wants to receive more from God, and he's not a separate ego on himself, then he can come to this baking, like we said before, etc. And that's what it means. Mishkal, and this is the bread will have to weigh it out. That was a curse, right? You'll break 10 loaves and you're only going to get a little bit. You'll have to take the bread and weigh it out. It says the word mishkal also means to lift up. What does it mean? Sheyeshiva Torah al yedei afiyah, that by means of learning Torah and baking it like this, then it'll be lifted up. Mat like a mishkal, like lifting, also like the same thing as scales, right? One side goes up. Like it says, shekel b'pelas harim. It says that God will weigh in a scale mountains. What does it mean? That even the mountains, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that God will show us a level that's higher than the mountains. And that's what it means. You will eat and you won't be satisfied. What does it mean? You won't be satisfied? That's a curse. You're going to eat and not be satisfied. It says, no, what it means is that it means that the Torah will always be brand new to you. It'll always be interesting. You'll never be satisfied. You'll always want more because your love will be constantly yearning to learn more and more times into the Torah, because the Torah will always be brand new. Lo yizban nafsha, your soul will never be satisfied from godliness. Like it says, Al tevos ki zikna imcha. It says, do not be scoff if your mother is old. What does it mean? Because there won't, the Torah is like your mother. The Torah is imecha. The Torah is like, but it'll never be old. By God, there's nothing is old. Everything is brand new all the time. But if not, if you don't feel godliness and you don't feel the oneness of the Torah, then you won't receive any life from the Torah. It'll be like an old thing. So that's the blessing that's over here. The curse, we thought, is that the staff of bread will be lost and that there won't be any more bread, and 10 women there won't be any fuel, and 10 women will have to bake in one oven, and nevertheless the bread won't come out good. They'll have to weigh it out, right? And you'll never be satisfied. It says that really inside of this is a big blessing, and that is that the bread is the Torah, and you'll cook the bread in the oneness of God when you feel this fire that's inside of your heart, your soul. And why? When you realize that all that you have is like 10 women, it's just receiving from God. And when you realize you're receiving, then you can receive infinite, amazing levels of love and meaning from God, to the degree that you'll never be satisfied. Your life will always be new and fresh and exciting. And that's the whole message of the Mashiach. And these are the words of the Mashiach, but we have to have it revealed with Mashiach now. Have a good day. God bless you all.